Please welcome Sandeep Gupta. Hey, Sandeep. So Sandeep, as I said, between a slate of new hardware that you announced at IFA and a number of recent partnership announcements, it's been a pretty busy year for Fire TV. Tell us what the highlights have been.
It's been a great year, but first, thanks for having me today. I'm very excited to be here to talk about Fire TV. It's been a pretty amazing year for Fire TV. We've done a lot of new products. We've gone into different areas. Like you mentioned, the first Fire TV Cube was a great product. It really resonated with our customers. And so we took it to the next level this year with the Fire TV Cube second generation, fastest streaming product we've ever built. And then we had a whole host of announcements at IFA around Fire TV Edition. We have a bunch of new partners building new products, new TVs, and also our first soundbar. So a very exciting year.
Well, you had a lot of announcements. At least 20 new products were introduced, right?
Yes.
And there was a focus on the Fire TV Edition and international expansion. How do those announcements fit into the overall Fire TV product strategy?
So Fire TV Edition is an exciting program. We launched it last year broadly with our Best Buy products here in Best Buy. And then at IFA, we broadened that to be international, where we launched with some great brands in the UK, JVC in UK, Grundig in Germany, and great partnerships with retailers as well. Dixon's in the UK, MediaMarkt in Germany. And what it presents is broadening our entire roadmap of products and allowing Fire TV Edition on whatever screen you're watching. TVs are getting smarter. They need a great experience, and Fire TV, with our voice-forward experience, really kind of builds on that and creates sort of a customer-forward, customer-focused experience.
Well, let's build on that a little bit. You talk about being customer-forward.
Yeah.
And you say you're obsessed with customer feedback.
We are.
What sort of role does customer feedback play in your product development, in your roadmap for the future, and what kind of feedback are you getting on the Fire TV products?
So we pay attention to how customers are reviewing, giving feedback on our products. A great example is when we first allow people to pair their Echo devices with our Fire TV Stick products. We saw an attach rate that was really strong. Customers really liked that experience. And that was kind of the genesis of the Fire TV Cube product. We said, okay, let's build a product that takes that and really takes it to the next level. Second part of that was we saw a lot of reviews where people were using the Echo device with their Fire TV and asking it to do things like turn on the TV or turn off the TV. Because I think customers really want a simpler way of doing that. And that's when we realized we need to provide a way for customers to actually control the rest of their devices. You can have a great, seamless experience as we do on Fire TV, but you still got to do with your TV, your soundbar, your receiver, and managing that whole experience. And that's why we brought the IR technology and integrate it into the Cube and to all our products. And just today, we announced the Fire TV Blaster, which allows you to take that device control and apply it to any Fire TV device you have in your home, hands-free.
I have to admit, I was a voice control skeptic for quite a while, until I got a smart TV a couple of years ago and was entering all of my passwords for all of my accounts and really just wished I had that voice control to do that. Now, obviously, voice control has gone way beyond simply controlling your TV with the Fire TV Cube. What role does voice control play in, do you think, that in general in the future of OTT and living room devices, and specifically for Amazon?
So voice, it's a very natural experience for people, right? This is how we do when we grow up, you're talking. And I think the complexity now of television in some way is harder for people to manage. You have all these great services, Disney Plus just last week. You have a lot of breadth of content. And the best way to get at that is with your voice. So there's several aspects to this, right? First, you're trying to find your show or manage your show, and just being able to say the title is a much easier way to do that. The other aspect is just controlling your experience. So without integration with IR and voice, you can do things like, say, play Jack Ryan, and it will turn on your TV and go straight to the show. And that's truly magical, right? Where you just made an utterance, and all this thinking, all this logic was managed for you. And voice just kind of resonates with customers. It's funny, I just literally came back from India yesterday, and I was there working with my team, and I had these great anecdotes from the people that work for me, how they set up Fire TV for their parents and grandparents. And India is an interesting country because, interesting fact, 67% of customers in India still have a CRT TV. Using a set-top box with composite input. So they're just starting to transition. And so obviously people that work in our company, Fire TV's grown to be #1 there already in the past year. And they set up Fire TV for their parents and grandparents, but the parents and grandparents have no idea about apps, none of that. They just look for the shows with their voice, and it just works. And I think that's what makes it magical.
How many people in the room are currently using voice control on their video watching experience in the living room? That's a pretty good number, a little under half. My next question is, do you think voice control is the future? Clearly you do, but how do you see voice control developing as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, beyond voice control, voice interaction, voice interface, I think, for years we had the concept of a remote with buttons, and that worked in sort of a generic way. Still think it was challenging people when you had to bring in sort of a DVD player or an Xbox, and you got to try to figure out which input do I go to, which remote do I pick up. And voice has this ability to cross over domains. The example I gave you, which is making an utterance to watch a show, it could be play Stranger Things, and the ability for that utterance to then translate into turning on your TV, turning on your soundbar, launching your Netflix app, and then going Stranger Things with that utterance only comes through that flexibility. To do that with a remote, I would have had to hit 3 or 4 different remotes and try and make that work. The other example is, we have integrated cable box control with our devices. So if I say tune to NBC, the Fire TV knows that you watch NBC on your cable box, and it automatically will switch your input and tune your cable box to NBC, and all you did was say that utterance. So I think the ability for voice to transcend the domain, the app, the device, the method of viewing is what makes it so powerful.
Now, voice works really well when you know exactly what you want to do. Play Stranger Things or watch Jack Ryan, but clearly with all of the new services on the market, all of the new platforms, like you said, Disney Plus launching just last week, customers are faced with a golden age of content, but at the same time, they're probably feeling a little overwhelmed. Even those of us, I think, in the industry sometimes feel a little overwhelmed by all the content and all the services that are out there. So imagine how people who aren't in the industry, feel
Absolutely.
about it. And it's of course only going to get worse. There's more streaming apps.
It's going to get better.
Oh, it's going. Well, how is it going to get better? And what is Amazon in particular doing to make it better?
So the key thing that we do is, customers are challenged in trying to find their content and manage their content. The only way you can make it work in a way that they can understand is if you integrate with partners to make sure that the same way they speak, the same things they do for one app works across applications. So the things that we do with partners are what set us apart. So for example, we have over 100 catalogs integrated in our system. We have over 50 voice partners using our VSKey voice APIs, partnering into our ecosystem. So you got top partners like Netflix and Hulu and HBO. And what that allows is for customers to be able to do whatever they want across our device, whether it's searching for content, discovering new content, or controlling things like playback control or navigation. If you don't have that across the device, across your different content partners, then people are going to get confused and lost. I think that's what makes it interesting. And then the nice thing about that, because we have that deep integration, people can say things like, show me comedies or find dramas, and that provides them access to content from different sources, and then actually have to worry about where it's coming from. That's managed for them.
Right. Amazon Fire TV is also expanding internationally, and the streaming media market is becoming increasingly global. That brings with it so many opportunities, but lots of challenges as well. How do you see the international market developing over the next few years? What role is Amazon taking? What approach is Amazon taking to the increasingly international nature of streaming?
Yeah, international is actually very exciting. This was the first year where we did a broad launch event outside the US, and it's because the landscape is changing so dramatically. But it's very exciting to see what's happening there. You know, I spent a lot of time over the last year in the UK and Germany, other parts of Europe, and I just came back from India. And they're just starting to discover what this experience can be, and it's very empowering. The one thing that we keep in mind, though, is that each country has their own way of watching TV. Television, in many ways, is a very personal, cultural thing. And you have to approach it that way. Things you do in the UK is different from how things do in India. So you have to understand those markets. You also have to have the right partners for each region. And we're fortunate to have these great partners, right? You know, who really know the market. You know, Dixon's in the UK has been a great Fire TV Edition partner. We have Grundig in Germany, which is a great German brand. And they have been a great Fire TV Edition partner. And I think that's what's very exciting, is that this transition to smart and streaming devices is just happening in these regions. And us being able to bring our voice experience as well is a great way to bridge that transition for customers who maybe are not used to this kind of model, still have that CRT TV, and this dramatic shift is very hard, but if you ease them in with something they understand, like using their voice, it's pretty powerful.
I'm going to go off script a little bit here, because as you talk about the international markets being so different, I also wonder, when you return back to the States, are there lessons that you've learned in other markets that you think can and should be applied here in the US?
Absolutely, and we have done that. One of the things that we learned, for example, is cable box control is very important in India. And when we started to look at, you know, Fire TV there, having the ability to control your cable box was very important. And we thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we bring that to the rest of the world as well? Because yes, cable box is there, so we could learn from that and build on that. And that's been very exciting too. And another example is in the UK and Germany, public sector broadcasters over-the-air channels is still a dramatic part of how people watch TV. And so we did a lot of deep integration with live content, with live channels, our own live guide, for example. And again, we brought that back to the US, and we have this great integrated guide for live content now across all our devices.
Right, right. I've spent a fair amount of time in the Nordics, and my first visit there was in 2010, at a time when smart TVs were just sort of taking off here in the States. And the examples I had seen there of the here of the interfaces were just horrible.
Yeah.
And yet I went to the Nordics and opened it up, and that's how you do it, is the first thing I said. So I think it's important that, you know, there's a tendency for companies and folks in the U.S. to be so U.S.-centric that they sometimes don't realize there are those lessons to be learned, as well as, you know, things that we need to learn about those other markets in order to be effective there.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, especially as we've leaned more and more into our smart TV integration with Fire TV Edition, we've learned more and more of what customers in those countries expect. The interesting thing about those markets is their over-the-air streams have a lot of metadata embedded in them, and so you can use that to build this very rich live experience. And we've created that same experience in the U.S. as well, and it's pretty compelling, and we get a lot of engagement with that.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about smart TVs. Obviously, the Fire TV, you know, is a standalone device. It's a set-top device, but more and more people are making the switch over to smart TVs. So clearly, that's a big part of Amazon's roadmap, is taking advantage of the fact that more and more people are just going right for the smart TV. How do you think that future is going to play out? Do you think that the, you know, several years ago, and I forget who it was, one of the sort of industry pundits really predicted that it's going to be dumb TVs and smart devices connected to them. I don't think that's played out necessarily. You talked about Fire TV everywhere at IFA.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and how that fits into the smart TV slash connected device?
Yeah, I think you know, our vision is any screen out there should be able to do Fire TV, have a Fire TV experience. You know, we started with our streaming media products that was doing very well. They continue to do very well. And then we launched a whole host of Fire TV Edition smart TVs, and then also this past year, our first soundbar with Fire TV Edition embedded in it. And I think really it's about customer option and customer selection, right? Some of them prefer the fully integrated TV experience, and we're happy to do that. Some people will continue to want a streaming media product that they can plug into any TV they have in their house. I mean, there are people who would not buy Fire TV Edition TVs, and for them, we want to have a solution. I mean, it's hard to believe, but it will happen.
Right, right. So we've talked a lot about the things you've introduced in 2019. You mentioned something that you introduced today. Can you talk a little bit more about the Fire TV Blaster?
So we launched today the Fire TV Blaster, and this has sort of been an evolution of a device and experience. We spent a lot of time since we first launched the Fire TV on building a great, easy-to-use experience. We were the first ones to launch a device with voice, content-forward experience. And we wanted to take that experience to declutter the family room, and that's where we brought device control, first with the Cube and then with our stick products. And today with the Fire TV Blaster, we kind of come full circle where anybody with a Fire TV product can have hands-free voice control of their device by buying this device. Basically, it's a IR control device that you can just plug in, pair it to your Fire TV, and now you can control any of your entertainment devices. And you pair an Echo, now it becomes hands-free. And there's something magical about walking into a room and say, play Stranger Things, and it just turns on all your devices and picks up from where you left off. And having that kind of control hands-free truly is magical and game-changing. And it's interesting, what we find is people who have that ability, for example, with the Cube, they use it. 80% of customers who have a Cube use it for home automation and device control because it is so powerful. And we see 8x the engagement in voice overall with a product that is far-field. So it kind of fits into where things are going, how people are using devices. And when we talk about the customer, the focused approach, seeing how people really find this freeing and magical is really what makes us feel that we're building the right products. And that's where you see the Fire TV Blaster taking something that's really resonated with customers, hands-free voice control of all my devices. So I don't have that array of remotes on the coffee table that I have no idea how to use, or the batteries that died and everything else that drives people crazy, and making that very effortless for our customers.
What sort of feedback are you getting about the learning curve and the sort of comfort level that people have with the Fire TV Cube and this completely hands-free approach to all of their home automation?
Yeah, it's interesting. We launched the first Fire TV Cube a little over a year ago, and I think both us and our customers kind of learning what that experience could be. We spent a lot of time growing the utterances and the partnerships around voice and how it can be used, and also improving the device control, so it covered more and more devices. But the interesting thing, even in the early reviews, customers loved the setup. Like, they loved the ease of setting up their devices, and I think that was very exciting for us to see people be able to do that. It was interesting when I did a press event last year and interviewed customers, some people struggled with, I have a universal remote, but I can't set it up. And I think what we found was very reassuring is that if you make it simple and easy to use, customers can get over that curve. Something like setting up a remote has challenged a lot of people, but what we've done is made it very easy for them, and I think that's really resonated. So the feedback has been great. I mean, more and more people are using Fire TV to control their TVs and the devices. They love the hands-free voice aspect of it, and quite frankly, it was the success and engagement of the first generation Cube that really drove us to build this next generation to make it even better, to go even further. And also, it's the most powerful product we've ever built, so that's very exciting as well. And it's great to see that we continue to build our stick products, and that's great, and those have huge, very positive reviews. I mean, the first generation Fire TV stick is the highest reviewed product of all time on Amazon.com, so that's very exciting. But to also be pushing how people watch television and also changing behaviors is also very exciting as well with products like the Fire TV Cube. We've also, sorry, I'm going to keep going. Yeah. We also recently launched the first far-field Fire TV smart TV at IFA with Grundig and OLED TV. And really what we were able to do is take all those learnings from the Fire TV Cube and how engaged people were with voice and embed that into a smart TV, and that was pretty exciting as well.
How are you finding adoption is breaking down around sort of demographic and generational lines?
Well, I think it's interesting. It's one of those things today where you look at all the different content choices out there, right? And, we take Disney Plus again. If you want Disney Plus, you really need a product like ours, right? There's some anecdotes how people were looking for Disney Plus in the cable box and couldn't find it because it's not there.
Right.
So,
Right.
So what that's created is, across generations, if you want to watch the new content where it's coming from, you need an experience like ours. And the feedback we have is that with our catalog integration, with voice, with the simplicity of a content experience, that's what's really resonated with different generations, and even the older generations who are new to these kinds of devices, in that having that voice experience where they don't have to worry about the apps and they can just go for the titles, that's a huge game changer for them.
Right, right. I was a little reluctant. My parents were looking for a new audio device, and she asked me, what kind of stereo should I get? Which kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And after some debate, I said, well, let's get them an Echo, and they absolutely love it. You're right. It's actually easier to use than anything where you've got to get a remote or type in a lot of information.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about typing information. In other countries, it's sometimes even harder. You take Germany, for example, where they have very long words. I mean, typing's painful enough. It's even more dramatic there. And voice engagement there is even higher than many of our other regions because of that, because it's so easy to do.
Right, right. We've talked a lot about what you've introduced in 2019. What does 2020 look like, and how is Amazon Fire TV going to evolve in the next year?
So I think, we're continuing to improve and grow what we're doing. It's been a great year for products. At IFA, like you said, we launched over 20 products, a lot of awards at IFA as well. And I think for 2020, as we go forward, we want to continue to dive into our partnerships. We've had some great partnerships this year with Disney, with YouTube, and Apple Plus. So a lot of great things coming, and you see more and more of those content providers coming next year as more and more companies want to have direct access to the customers and have that integration. So our vision is to have more and more deeper content integration. I think we've done very well creating that sort of transparent experience where we bring all these content sources together. And with more and more of these apps and services coming out, customers are looking for us to bring it all together for them. We see Fire TV as that experience that kind of unifies it, demystifies, declutters the experience, all powered by Alexa. And then beyond that, continue to improve our device control to declutter the living room, make that simpler to use, and then expand where you can get Fire TV, right? This year we launched a whole bunch of new TVs. We have the new soundbar that we launched this year, and then next year expect to do more of that with more partners, more products. I think what we're doing with our solution has really resonated with partners. They love Fire TV for what it gives to them, for what it gives to their customers, and it's been very exciting to bring them on board. I think this year having all these great partners has really been very rewarding to us as well as a company to validate what we're doing. I think overall customers and the industry love it when companies can work together, right? It shows that people are sharing their common goals of having great customer experiences beyond any sort of company issues, right? That's why the things we did this year with Google are very exciting, and getting YouTube on our product for all our customers. You saw Disney Plus last week and Apple, but also device partners like Grundig, like Toshiba, like Insignia, and like JVC. That's very exciting too. To have those cross ecosystem where we kind of build those best of breed products with great hardware, great software. And then the last piece of that is partnership with retailers, partners like Best Buy in the US, Dixon's in the UK, and MediaMarkt in Germany, the top retailers that you would think maybe might be hesitant to work with products with Amazon. But again, they see the value of Fire TV and the experience with that integration smart home, which is very important to them too, as they start to see more and more of that become part of what people expect their TV to be able to do. Which years ago you would never imagine that my TV is how I control my lights and my cameras and everything else in my home, but that's where the landscape is going. So being able to do that and cross those bridges and kind of create this broad ecosystem of partners and products, I think you'll see more of that in the coming year, and that's very exciting to us.
Excellent. Well, I think we have some time for some audience questions. Jose, if you could grab a mic, and Jose Castillo will bring a microphone around to anyone in the audience. So if you've got a question for Sandeep, please raise your hand. I know it's early, but it's not that early. Maybe it is that early. Yeah. Someone had their hand up over here, and now it's gone.
She's right there.
Okay. Jose? Nadine right there?
Question right here.
Thank you. So in terms of the types of things people are finding, is there one type of content that lends itself better to using the Fire TV's kind of overall, omni-room instructions?
I don't think it's any one type of content. I do think one thing that's been very nice is like serial TV, right? So an example might be, you have a show like The Good Place that has 3 seasons on Netflix, but then if you want to watch the 4th season, you're not sure where to go watch that, right? It's available on Hulu or NBC, but you may not know that. The great thing about Fire TV, if I say, find The Good Place or play The Good Place, it will give you those options to show you where it's available without you having to try and dig around, right? And I think that's what makes it powerful is, content is available from several different sources, whether it's movies or TV, and having sort of that global overview of being able to find it in one place, I think is very powerful for customers. Otherwise, you're digging into all these different apps, trying to figure it out. Do I have to download another app? But we make that easy for our customers, and I think that's why we have over 37 million active users now, and I think that's what really resonates with them, and why we've managed to grow so fast in terms of becoming #1 in our marketplaces.
Another question back here.
From another hat wearer. Amazon itself is obviously retailing streaming and content direct to consumer. But in terms of the wider the integration with the wider Amazon business, how are you consolidating things like product placement, advertising, and other things to drive the retail business of the wider Amazon and product business? Have you got partnership strategies? How is that integration working?
Yeah, so broadly, as a streaming media platform, our goal is to deliver apps and services across different areas, right? So we have deep integration with Prime Video, we have deep integration with our content partners as well, and then we also have an advertising platform that allows partners to kind of have a way to monetize their experience too. It's very important for them. It's important for them and us to be able to build those streams for our companies. Our philosophy for Fire TV is to provide the same apps and services that we do for our own internal products as we do for our external partners as well. So things like voice interaction and catalog integration that we do for Prime Video, we also allow for all our partners as well. At the end of the day, we want to give the customers a broad selection, broad solutions, and be as neutral as possible, so in the end, they're finding what they want in the products, and that's the primary concern of ours.
Okay, question up front, up here.
Yeah, so going back to kind of the content catalog. So I'm a content producer. I've got content, and right now I've got apps on Fire TV, Apple TV, and Roku, each of which have kind of their own content catalog. How do, you talk about being able to integrate and being able to find stuff. How are people publishing to you so that you can find it? And how do we somehow make sense of this across the broader industry so a producer isn't having to publish to 3 different content catalogs?
Yeah, and I think that's challenging. I think it's a fair point in terms of, others have their own methodology for catalog integration. For us, the key is we want to make sure we're providing the right hooks for our partners to be able to have the best possible catalog integration experience. Part of the reasons why they do vary is they provide differing level of integration, right? So for example, on Fire TV, beyond the regular search results that you might find on another platform, we also have voice integration, we also have live integration, and that requires a different level of content integration. Now we provide tools and APIs that make it as easy as possible for our partners and supports. But it'll continue to be different, because at the end of the day, for us, we want to build what we think is the best experience, and that may require slightly different levels of API integration than maybe what you find somewhere else.
Question up front, right here.
For your voice integration for Fire TV, how many languages are you have right now? Are you having any challenges expanding that base? I mean, I know you're doing so in India, but are you having more languages you add every year just because of the multicultural, more diverse people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're growing our language support every year. This year we launched France, Italy, and Spain, expanded into those regions. We're also recently with Alexa launched Spanish and Hindi, and that's going to continue to grow the next few years. We work very closely with the Alexa team to expand our voice integration, and you'll see more and more regions and countries coming every year. One of the things for voice integration though is that it has to be perfect, it has to be worked. You have to have greater than 90% accuracy, otherwise customers get turned off. And we've all, voice has been around for a long time, to be fair, but only the last few years has really started to resonate with customers, and customers start to build some trust in the experience, and that comes from deep integration and learnings that you have to do for each language. So, you could do it broadly quickly, but what we want to do is have that high level accuracy, and we have to build these voice engines to make sure we can do that. So, we'll continue to grow in every country around the world, the next several years, but we'll take it in a way where we're meeting our expectations of quality that we expect for our products.
Question in the back here.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned user reviews and I think certain platform stats, but what other sources of deep customer experience and learning do you utilize?
Well, obviously we look at how people are engaging with the product. For example, we see with voice, people engage more. An example of that, early this year at CES, Hulu's CEO said that people who use voice and Alexa in their applications use it 50% more and watch 50% more TV than without voice. So we look at those sorts of stats. We look at how people are interacting with the device and what they're watching in terms of how much they engage, what they want to watch, and how much voice they're using to help us gauge that and see where we need to continue to invest, where we need to build better bridges, and also where we need to integrate with more content to make sure they're getting what they want to watch.
We have a question here, and then one all the way up in the front, and that's probably all we have time for.
What's your end-of-life strategy for devices now that you have multiple generations out there? And on the flip side, how do you manage the velocity of new features when you have to be able to consider all the devices that you have out in the field?
Yeah, it's a very challenging question, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have a great answer. We still support all of our devices out there, even from our first generation, because our customers are still using them. We have millions of customers still using our very first stick, very first boxes, and you don't want to take that away from them. So we continue to support those in a way that makes sense for our customers and our partners. One of the things that really resonates with our partners like Netflix, like HBO, is that our software runs across all our devices, whether it's our stick, box, Fire TV Edition. So when they build an application, it can run across our devices. And I think that's what's really resonant with our customers too. They have that security and safety knowing that we'll continue to support their products. But obviously over time, that will start to diminish. For example, on the first generation stick, some new of the applications like Apple TV won't be available because certain functions not available. So it's really a sliding scale. We continue to support our products as long as we can. But again, it really comes down to what our partners can also support as well. Was there a second part now? I don't remember if there was a second part of the question. You got it? Okay.
Final question up front here.
Hey, so for content partners who are distributing through the Amazon Channels program, what kind of data sharing can they expect to receive back from Amazon in terms of who's consuming, how much video is being watched? Like, how do you partner with the channels partners around data?
So data is a very private thing for our customers, and we don't share a lot of data. Our partners, they have their own content, they know how to manage those things. And in terms of data sharing, it's really managed by each partner. We don't get into sharing that customer data because our focus is really around how we're improving our experience, and partners are around sharing what they do with their experience. So in that way, they kind of work independently.
All right, well, Thank you very much, Sandeep. That was a great overview of everything Amazon Fire TV is doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.